Okay, folks, here we are in the outside studio, and I got kind of a short session. I got maybe an hour, which I probably shouldn't do this then. I only have an hour, but I'm kind of at a standstill. I'm in between phases, and I got to do this, kind of need to do this next. So, what we're going to do is we put some of these vehicles together last night with different methods, some unconventional methods of putting some of this stuff together. It's always good to think outside the box, and sometimes when you have some kind of adversity and the normal methods of doing things aren't working, then you need to look for other options. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. I had these models that I've had. They're old models. I haven't had them in a long time, but they're from BP Cast, and they're just crude would probably be too nice, but the instructions are literally put the wheels on, attach the chassis to the wheel, and I attach the wheels just sitting here, and I actually built an undercarriage to it, and hot glue, hot glue was the solution for me. So I think these will be definitely very serviceable. I took some pictures of what these look like beforehand, and I think they're going to look pretty good by the time I'm done with them. But I'd like to airbrush them because I'd like to work on them when I get back. I've got a trip that I've talked about several times that I'm going on today for a day trip to see some tanks in 1-to-1 scale. So we're going to be filming some stuff. And I'm like, well, it's too early to leave. I'd like to do something productive. And that's why I like the hobby first thing in the morning, because at the end of the day, well, at the beginning of the day, you'll have some success. I'd like to think that's the case. So I'm going to put the airbrush back together here. And then proceed to destroy it because we're going to use primer. And hopefully we don't have a big jam session. But I think I'm going to get back today too late to do any show or anything. So I figured the show must go on. So we need to do that. So we'll be ready to go. Jeffrey Smith, good morning. Let's see here. Scattered terrain, if nothing else. Hello from Melbourne. I came across a map, speaking of Australia. I came across a map on Facebook or something like that, and it was of Australia. And it had different sections in Australia that were what they were equivalent to in other parts of the world, so that we'd understand what kind of weather they have. And I live in Florida, so I get the whole Brisbane portion up there. It said, yeah, that was like Florida. I'm like, really? It was an interesting map. I should have saved it. And like the northern part near Darwin was like India or something like that. I'm like, what? I know what it looks like on the map. I don't know what it looks like, what it feels like when you're there. Especially when you describe things in centigrade. And I'm metric friendly, but I have a hard time visualizing the centigrade numbers. Because I actually don't like the centigrade temperature. Why? Because you only use the bottom 40 numbers. You never talk about something being 50 degrees centigrade. I hope not. I certainly don't want to go there. All right. Last day of GMT Universal Time in UK. You live in Florida too. Skeletor, where do you live in Florida? Generically. What's your address? No, I'm kidding. Let's fire this up. You're sounding weird this morning. You didn't have your vodka last night? Panama City. I'm over here just north of Gainesville. Always have been. I've never been to Panama City. You know that? I've lived here since 1981. It just, you know what it is? The interstate's too far from you. So, like, it's not that far to get to Panama City, but then it's like, fuck, we still got to go on a road trip. I'm not knocking Panama City. I'm just saying I've never been there. I've been to Pensacola once, a long time ago. You're panhandling the panhandle. Yeah, I don't like people talking bad about my Florida. It's simple. If you don't like Florida, I guess we won't see you here. We're full. Go back. The worst thing about Florida is the weather. Oh, I came here for the weather. I'm like, what kind of a hellhole did you come from? All right, we're going to run this about 30 psi, and we're going to use the Abbas formula. I'm still not completely convinced on this, although this guy definitely has a pretty good idea. I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, listen, I've used your formula for a while on my videos, and it works pretty well. And it's just this guy on an airbrush forum that came up with an additive to all the acrylic paints, according to him, using Vallejo products that is 70% airbrush flow improver. That's why I went ahead and put it in this container, because it was down about 30%. 70% airbrush flow improver, 30% airbrush thinner, and then 10% of the retarder. I know that equals 110%, but he did say retarder at the end, so maybe there's something in there with that. All right, we're gonna put, this is a 70-30 is what he suggested. And I really didn't need any help per se in thinning the regular paint. It's just nice to use something that uses all the products between Vallejo and AK and so forth. And I do like something that I can thin this, because I'm always fighting this, and I probably am going to fight it anyways. Now that I think about it, let's pump this up closer to 40. Make sure this doesn't stick. And I'm using a 0.35 needle where I normally would use a 0.5 through this. And I'm going to have to wing this, because you can't use the drop method like you can with the other things with this. But the main thing is to avoid tip dry. And it does a pretty good job. It does a better job than I've been doing better with this than not having it. But I'm still an airbrush noob. I'm a hand painting pro, but an airbrush noob. And I probably will always be an airbrush noob. And I'm okay with that. Cool place sometimes. Hate all the tourists though. Singing with Clover. Now that's something I'm not. I can't drink enough to sing. I'm more of a dancer. All right. Let's get the ugly bastards out of the way first. Just got to figure out how I'm going to want to hold these things. And I'm like, how am I, mixing up a little bit of epoxy, gluing it. You waste 70% of the epoxy, mix up another batch. I just hot glue gunned it. I got some Gorilla hot glue gun stuff, and if I'm happy, if this survives the painting thing, I'll go ahead and put epoxy in there, and this will be rock solid. There's a little bit of a crack in this one. This is how I got it. I'm probably going to leave it there. You got some Russian truck that's about to fall apart. This ugly duckling thing. And I got one tire that's literally missing. So I could build this up out of green stuff or something like that, but we're just going to paint it and then make something in the snow. These are going to be sitting probably in a snow stand. All right, here goes. See if we don't wake up the wife with the compressor. But I figure if I can make these things look good, I can make anything look good, because these are really a pizza chip. Got here. I can't read the videos. Ah, nothing new. Okay. I did so much airbrushing, I got tired of being on my feet. But since we got a car ride, might not be a bad idea of that. I also got woken up to a notification that one of the podcasts I listen to is a pretty infrequent podcaster, but when he does podcast, it's relatively good material. It's free, and sometimes it's really long. But a new podcast by Dan Carlin on hardcore history, so I'm gonna check that out. It's funny because the last time he dropped one, I was on my way to a game convention, so it was like, that was super handy. I'll have something to listen to that's not too involved, because I like listening to my history books, but man, sometimes I need to listen to them with a bunch of like maps and stuff, and I can't really do that. Man, you were just running all the time, aren't you? I can't do that all the time. I can't do that while I'm driving, so. So it is spraying this pretty thin, since I thinned it out. So I'm probably going to have to give it another coat, which I'm okay with. I went and after I did my show yesterday, I decided to look on eBay and see if there was any B-cast models. Not that I want to buy anymore. God help me. And there's a few that are being sold, and they're way overpriced. Way overpriced. Just because these things are out of production doesn't mean that they really earn that kind of a price tag. But, you know how it is, just because they're selling something for a certain amount on eBay doesn't mean that's what they'll go for. And a lot of people, there's some Cromwell models out there, including some guy in France I've seen him all the time. Like the shipping is like damn near $30. Like I love Cromwell models, but I wouldn't pay that even if the models were free, Well, maybe if the models were free, 100 models and you pay $30 shipping, but it's like $25 or something like that shipping for like one thing. Like they got a BT7 on there. It's been on there for a couple of years. Like I'll just get a 3D printed BT7 for $10. Thanks. And at the end of the day, Cromwell models is 176th, and I prefer 172nd. Looks better with the figures. We're going to come back to that and give that a second coat. Now I'm paranoid about this thing hitting the ground, about actually putting this on a stand. Because it hit the ground one day. It does vibrate a bit much. Thank you. I was wondering when you were going to shut up. Let's see. Let's just let some air out. Let's dial it down. The more you dial it down, I'm just keeping it from jamming. All right, same thing on the bottom here. I think it'll end up. I think these will end up being just fine. But I had to build the undercarriage. There's just nothing for the wheels to attach to. It doesn't have to be accurate. I mean, it's just freaking wood, but I'm glad it dawned upon me to use the hot glue gun. I have one. I just don't think of it. Brown. I never would have been able to use this without thinning it with this needle. I'd have used a 0.5 needle, which is, I don't know if it's kaput. It'll still work. It's just, I need to buy another tip for it. I'm not sure how this tip split. Maybe I pushed the needle in too much one time. Well, it's not like I just used it one time and it broke. I used it a lot, so. I'm pretty delicate with things, so if I'm having things go sideways, it's happening to a lot of other people too. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to how far I'm going to get along on this. It might just be that I get some of the things just primer, but it's got to be done. See if I can get in a spot where I'm not in my own way. With the light. Sometimes it looks like it's not coming out, and it is. No, no tip dry. There's something awfully going on there. It's like I'm holding it at the same pressure, and it's just almost there's like a jam in there. And it comes on, like hardly comes out at all, and then comes out too much. Well, it's definitely behaving a hell of a lot better with this mixture than it was without it. But I keep forgetting about the hot glue gun, and man, it is an awesome tool. I don't know how I decided to get the Gorilla Glue one. I don't know if their hot glue is better, but I forgot what the hell I got it for. Maybe the trees? Something. But it's good to buy something for one thing, use it for that, and then find other uses for it. Makes it a lot cheaper. Good morning, Marcus. We're painting some uglies here. And I think they'll end up being okay. You weren't on here, but I put them together with hot glue. It's more than these things deserve. We had to build a whole undercarriage on it. Had to. Not necessarily for strength, but for aesthetics. Yeah, it's too early for me to leave. It's too dark, too. I'm not a big fan of driving in the dark. There's recaps and stuff like that. I'll drive I'll drive back from my mom's, and my mom only lives, she lived in the old neighborhood. So she only lives one interstate up from on I-75, one exit up. So you're talking about 10 miles. Takes no time to get there. And I'll be driving home like at night. Not any crazy time, but 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. This didn't happen last night. I just thought about it. And there'll be people driving like 110 miles an hour. That's the wrong time to show off. I get it. You want to drive fast. Do it when you can see well. Not when you're already driving overdriving your headlights when you're going 45 miles an hour. I don't understand people. There's some people out there with a death wish. Likewise, I don't understand perfectly good conditions if you're driving 15 miles an hour under the speed limit. That's dangerous, man. I'd like the least amount of interaction with other cars possible. But I'm probably going to stop at the hobby store, I think, at the flea market. I know that sounds stupid, but it's like a legitimate hobby store inside the flea market. And not all flea markets are created equal. This one in Daytona Beach is actually pretty nice. And they just happen to have their storefront there, probably to keep costs down. They're also only open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not that I'm going to buy anything there. Their prices last time I went were not great. They had Hasegawa kits for $20. Like $20 for a tank I have to put together that isn't as good as Ron's stuff. I'm like, see how much time I'm spending on this thing? This thing almost doesn't deserve this time to time, but We're not in a rush. Now, one thing I do need to check out, and I haven't reached out. I've asked him before, but and I can never remember. It's the Yorkshire Gamer. I think that's who it is. He does all those big 1/700 scale ships, and he's wargaming with them, which you know the game probably doesn't have a lot of detail compared to the ship models. I'm going to put this on a stand, and I want to kind of make the waves like he does. So we'll reach out to him and see what he does. I don't think I'm going to cut this thing down. In other words, I'm not going to have it too far in the water. I'm just going to build up the goop on this whenever we do next month and we do the ship theme for the model meeting. But this is just a freaking toy boat. Toy boat, toy boy, toy boat, toy boat. So this is all I was using this for my imaginations. Actually, this is one of the first African imaginations. This is one of the first things that actually got me to do. Excited about that because I encountered this, and I guess this was a toy from my daughter that she never used or something like that. You stealing toys from your kids? Absolutely. There's going to be 4 mercenaries that were going to be in this, and there's like a river that's going through the middle of the map. I don't know, maybe this wide, something like that. And they start on the boat and they have to get to an aircraft. And there's a couple different ways to get to the aircraft, but they have to travel some on the boat. And that's where I had this boat, and just everything else that I kind of created in this fantasy land was based around the scenario that I had thought about when I put this thing together. But anyways, so the model theme for not April, but May is ships. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy a model of a Warspite or Renown or something like that and then paint it because it doesn't have anything. And I already have this. So, hey, this is ships. I'm not there to win anything. I'm just figured I could contribute. Pugwash. Any thoughts on American taking over Greenland? Ken has just completed the last 700 ship in his Narvik project. Fancy being a guest in his podcast. Well, I haven't been asked. One of those guys actually mentioned me in one of their podcasts several years ago. That was cool. I don't mind being on a podcast. I don't want to be sponsored by anybody. Because, like, we're going to be sponsored by BP Cast. Okay, your vehicles are shit, but I don't want to say that because you're sponsoring me. Yeah, I don't want to be in that predicament. I want to be able to speak my mind within reason. Greenland? I don't know. I don't follow the news. So here's what I figure about our Orange King. I don't want to get any political. I think he comes up with I think he says extreme things to get everybody worked up about things, and then he goes and does something else. I think he's just throwing shit at you guys. I don't pay attention to any of it. But somewhere I read it was an interesting thing about Greenland is I don't think he's unwell. I think he's extremely unpredictable, and that's part of his thing. But anyhow, the thing about Greenland that I never really thought about is the travel. A lot of the ice caps have been melting, and now the travel from across Russia, whatever, is easier to navigate. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but if we were going to take over Greenland, I mean, this is a country of a bunch of sissies and stuff, and we treat people way too nice sometimes. So we'd be all right with them. We're just here to give them hugs. But no, I don't really follow politics. Yeah, I like Ken. He does a great job with that water, man, and he's getting better at it. The water on the Warspite is really, really, really good. I can't imagine what rules he uses. The rules he uses. Oh, what am I doing? I'm doing trucks. Um, the rules he uses definitely are not going to um, give do ample credit to the miniatures he's doing. Those, if you're gaming with something that looks like that, you need to be playing Sea Creek 7. I'm just saying, he's putting a lot of effort in that stuff. It looks really, really grand. But from what I understand, whatever he's using, it's going to compress the ranges a lot. I mean, even when we played 1/2400 scale, the ranges were compressed a lot. And in the game scale of Sea Creek, to put it into perspective, Narvik itself, if I remember it correctly, the entrance to the fjord is about this wide. I mean, like in real life, okay? So using 1/2400 scale ships, the entrance to Narvik Fjord is only 5 or 6 inches wide. It's like, I don't know, 30 inches long. I'm like, there's nowhere to go. Like everything's like automatic hits at that range, which, would explain why the German destroyers got nailed it the way they did. His Jutland game was quite impressive. I didn't know that he already did that. Did he do it in another scale? Certainly he didn't do it in 1/700 scale. Was the sightlets there? I want to know. There's an episode, speaking of sightlets, there's an episode that the guy who has the podcast, the channel that I can never pronounce, Dragniffle, you know who he is. We'll call him Dragniffle for now. Not that he has anything to do with anything in drag. Well, he might, but he does really comprehensive videos on a certain ship or a certain ship class. And he did one on sightlets, and he had a large model. I think it was bigger than 1/600 scale. It was a relatively large model, and it showed literally on the model where all the hits happened. And I thought that was fabulous. Dragniffle. That sounds like a troll that lives under a bridge that dresses in women's clothes and isn't a woman. I'm sure I said his name wrong. That guy has really interesting stuff on his channel. I just never think about watching it because I'm not doing ships. Didn't he put on a naval game in Salute last year? I don't watch other people's podcasts very often because I'm usually making my own material. Not that there aren't some good podcasts out there. By podcasts, I mean, shows. Actually, I don't listen to podcasts at all, really. It's usually the video, but a podcast works better for when you're driving because there's nothing to look at to be distracted, which is a good thing. You shouldn't be looking at a podcast when driving. Jam session development. More power. Yeah, Salute's your guys' big show, isn't it? It's a one-day show. I still don't know if I'm going to go to the show in April. I guess I better decide in a week or so. I'm gonna have to spend a lot more for the registration. I just saw the games are running, and I'm like, I don't want to play any of them. You know, I want to just go and have a beer and hang out with folks. That's it. I don't really care to play any of the games. There's some games that, and you know, I signed up for a game, and what if, you know, one of the two people, I'm going to call them two people right now. I'm not going to play another game with them. They're just a pain in the ass. And they're people that are older than me. Which, hell, that could be anybody that could be anybody on my show except Scott. Scott's like the only guy that's younger than me. But no, it's not any of our regular players. It's nobody local. Three people. I'm sorry. Two people, I meant three people. He did Jutland at Salute and a couple other shows a year or so ago. Yeah, so the last naval game I put on, which was in 1996, I swore I was never going to do another one because I didn't want people ham-fisting my miniatures. And my miniatures back then looked like shit compared to the stuff now. I don't want random people touching my shit. All right, what's going on here? I think we've gone as far as we could go. Well, this is the .35 needle, so. I was hoping this particular material isn't a total miracle. I really didn't want to kiss this guy's ass. No, I give people credit where it's due. It still worked pretty well. The fact that I can do it through a .35 is amazing. Because several times I mentioned that Vallejo claims that you're not supposed to thin this at all, which is fine, but it doesn't work through an airbrush very well. Let's blow some stuff through here and start over. Oh, it's not blowing out through that either. Yeah. Houston, we have some problem. All right. There's nothing we can't fix. We've only turned this thing down many, many times. Tear this thing apart. The other thing I could do is try and think outside the box with priming. Give everything a really light coat of this primer, and I mean really light. And then setting aside, and then bring it inside, and then paint the rest of it with the same primer with a paintbrush. So in other words, give it some texture for the primer to adhere to, and then hand paint it. Because this stuff hand paints great on figures, but because vehicles have a flat surface, as soon as you apply it, you're pushing it off also. Otherwise, I'd just be hand painting everything. You know, I mean, I guess I could use black craft paint to prime, but oh well, we're working on our limited airbrush skills along the way. Yeah, if you want me to be on the show, have him contact me for his show. That'll work. Whoa. Let's see how bad we're doing here. Yeah, it looks all right. Let's put a little, actually, let's cut this little end off. Put a little bit of hand sanitizer in there. I got to be careful with the gloves because it'll reactivate the little bit of overspray. And then I got a mess of stuff on all over me. I don't have much overspray on the hands, but no, it's pretty clean. All right, let's give it a go. You know, one of the podcasts I have trouble listening to is old Frasier. I don't hear well to begin with. And he doesn't have a heavy accent. He has a moderate accent. He has a moderate to light accent. So I need more volume. And I don't know what it is. His recording volume isn't very loud. Hopefully that's not the case with me. I like to think that I'm fucking loud. And I talk with my hands, which means I knock things down. You're a loud gesticulator. What'd you call me? Let's see if we can get this fired up. Come on. We in business. I'd like to think that every time I mess with this, I get better at it. But there's uncontrollable challenges that I don't have to deal with when I'm painting with a paintbrush. Let's see how we're doing here. It's okay. God, these things are ugly. It ain't got no alibi. It's ugly. It's never too early to do a sip of Coke. I don't do drugs. Other than caffeine. Alcohol, I guess. All right. You put the 30% in first. I like the fact that this guy recommends just mix it in the cup. I'm like, you're on my team, dude. I don't want to mix somewhere else and then trying to get the material over, you end up losing 30% of it. Been trying Mr. Surface Primer. It sprays well, but wowzer, it does smell strong. That's why I went to Airbrush. This whole time, I'm not an airbrush painter. And I probably could have done everything that I've done hand painting. I'm really confident in my hand painting skills. And it's controlled, it's no mess, it's no smells, but I can't do that stuff anymore. You know, I shouldn't be doing that anymore. You know, I got a fan blowing on me. This is very little air spray, but what it is, it's not toxic. My wife doesn't go, what the hell have you been doing in there? You know, because even with the garage open, the smells are just, you shouldn't have those smells nowadays. This isn't the 1950s, and we're not making things out of balsa wood anymore. But I was perfectly happy using Model Master spray, and it had a smell, but it wasn't like, this is killing me, you know? on high now. Okay, I think we're good there. What are we doing next? Let's do this trash T3485. And I'm not sure how he made these. I suspect he built a model and then made a casting of it. He built like a custom model, like he added some stuff to it. Almost all of his models have some kind of equipment or something on it. I made a casting. I don't know if that's legal. Doesn't matter. He's not in business anymore. I'm not here to judge. But it's got some custom equipment. The problem is if you want 5 of these, you'd have the custom equipment in the same place every time, which just wouldn't be. Dumbass. Dumbass move, Tony. It's Dumas. Nope, not when I do stuff like that. I got my glasses on. I'm allowed to be klutzy. Tunnel vision. I've heard about that Mr. Surfacer. There's like 4 different levels, and depends, I guess, how grainy you want it to be, but is that made by Gun Sanyo or something? It's definitely Japanese. Actually, Gun Sanyo might not actually be Japanese. It might be Korean. I've never lived in a place that has a good supply of that paint, so I've never really tried it out. Mr. Wonderful. What a work of art. Not yet. Mr. Wonderful, you need a sidekick that's called Captain Sarcasm. These things look like ass. These things look like melted ass. But we're going to try to make them into a work of art. Let's put it that way. Even though they don't deserve it. Now, I'm actually fine, as crude as these things are, I'm actually fine with there being goop in between all the wheels. In other words, they're not hollow all the way to the back. I'm actually okay with that. Because you can paint that like it's dirt, or in this case, snow. Because all these Soviet vehicles are going to be snow vehicles. Some of you old timers, yeah, I'm talking about you guys that are used to Matchbox models. I don't know if this is a Matchbox model originally, if the core model is, because it looks like it's 176 scale. It looks a little smaller than normal. And this might have been a model that he built from one of those and then just decided to make a casting of it. I honestly don't know. But he didn't make this out of scratch. Alright, we're gonna need one of those things. And I didn't want to fool with the super glue, so I actually hot glue gunned the barrel in place. We'll see if we'll do that again. I take it you're only going to one day of the event, yes. Yeah, and it's stupid to go tomorrow. I get this. I get the Sunday blues a lot too. But my favorite thing to do on a Sunday is just stay at home and just enjoy the house as much as possible. That's usually my. If you're gonna go to the beach, I don't want to go to the beach on Sunday. I want to go to the beach on Saturday. I get a little depressed with the Sundays. Like, Sunday evening, like, okay, did you have as much fun as you could have? Because, yeah, I'm just going one day. I made the mistake of watching a video. I showed my wife a video a couple days ago. I think it was not last night, but the night before. Maybe it was last night. Of the event last year. It looked kind of lame. I mean, it looked kind of, like, there's stuff going on here and nothing over here. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, like I get really excited about doing stuff, and then you realize everybody else that's there is kind of like, they don't know anything about anything. It's like when I played that flight simulator, that World War II plane, I'm like, oh cool, we'll talk about World War II ship when we're flying. No, these fucking kids or people don't know anything about the Second World War. They're playing a game. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I have a feeling that a lot of the reenactors aren't going to, there'll be some people that know stuff. Some people won't have a clue of the reenactors. So, we'll just see what comes of it. I've just never been to one of them. So, I did see a picture close up of that tiger. It looks like ass. I know it's a mock-up, but it's an ass-looking mock-up. The Russians would have done a better job. Russians are really good about making things look pretty darn good. They got other faults, but that's a good one that they have. All right, this mortar carrier. What are we doing on fluid? I found that at 1700 on a Sunday, you tended to go straight back to, oh no, it's Monday tomorrow mode, and the blues kicked in, yeah. It actually happens earlier than that. I just probably mention it. Yep. I'm not going to be one of those people that sticks around and work because I don't have anything to do. My wife was talking to one of her friends on the phone the other day, and I was overhearing. She knew it was there, right next to it. She said something along the lines of, I need to find the hobby, because Tony and his hobbies will never be bored a day in his life. I said, well, it's a little bit of an extreme, but yeah, I'm not going to work because I want to. I just have overhead. And it's habit too. Like I've been going every day for 31 years. So actually, I jumped the shark a little bit. It'll be 31 years at the end of next month, the end of April. I'm going to go ahead and rinse this out. I'm going to go ahead and give it a blowout. That's probably what I should have done. Okay, you go through, and I'm only filling this up maybe half. Once I go through this, just go ahead and rinse the son of a bitch out. Yeah, I get the Sunday blues a lot. Now, if I lived with somebody I hated being around, then maybe I'd look forward to going to work and not having to deal with her. That might be some people's problem, but it's not mine. There's only one place I didn't dread going to work, and that's when I worked at the hobby store. But that didn't pay the bills. But I didn't dread going to work then. Come on. You can do it. But I was watching that video of the reenactment that happened last year, and I told my wife, and it's like, people that paint miniatures, I'm not going to necessarily out myself out on this one, but people that paint miniatures, even people that build models, people that paint miniatures that I think look better than anything else. They look better than real vehicles. They look better than models. Because there's some things, not everybody does this, but you need to make things pop at a distance. And a real vehicle doesn't pop at a distance. You see it far away, and it's just like an olive drab blur, or a Dunkelgelb blur, or a Panzergray blur. It's just there. The details that are on it don't stand out to the human eye. And when you're painting miniatures, just the contrast by adding the panel lining and things like that, just, I don't know why I didn't start on the bottom of this one. I'm really not very methodical when it comes to this, I guess. So my favorite stuff is when I go and see something on like War Game Soldiers and Strategy, or a couple other painters that I follow, and they come up with something that's just really motivating. It's always miniature painting. And there's some great model builders like Night Shift and the other guy from Eastern Europe, I can never remember what his name is. They do excellent stuff, but it's not as contrasty as miniatures are. Not every miniature painter, I'm just saying the ones that I follow. are the ones that I really like. And it's because it's a contrast issue. So you look at a real vehicle, these vehicles I'm going to see today. I mean, if I get there, you know, they spray the whole thing in olive drab. They don't pin wash the vehicle. I mean, it's what it is, you know. So miniatures sometimes look better than a real vehicle. And maybe some people don't like the way miniatures things look like. Pin wash, it doesn't look very realistic. No, I know, it looks better. It looks better than realistic. You know, there's a guy, I can never remember what his name is. Of course he's British, everybody is. And he has a website, a blogger site where he posts pictures of his stuff and the games that he does. And I came across his site because I was doing stuff for Operation Crusader. And I think he does 15 millimeter. And I think his name is, I can't remember what his name is. I can never remember. And, but his website is called something like Oli Kanad's War Games or something like that. And he has this big war game that he did for the Battle of Sidi Rezai. Rezai. And you be careful with Tick. He's going to make me pronounce it the way he pronounces, which is, I don't know where the hell he got calling it that. But anyhow, and his battle looks awesome. And he does super heavy black lining, maybe even uses paint, not even Nuln Oil. I don't think it's a wash. I think it's literally paint. All the panels apart from each other. And yeah, he's got the counter scheme using blue instead of the correct color. But it looks good. And you look at that and I'm like, I want to play that game. I want to play that game. And then you realize what rule set he uses. I'm like, I don't want to play the game. I just want to look at it. You know, but is it James Roach? Is his name James Roach? I don't know. He does I like his style painting. Is it realistic? No. Is it better than realistic? Yes. So, in my opinion. Oli Kanad's War Game. I don't even know what the hell it stands for, but anyway, he does really good work. But he does heavy panel lining, and I like how that looks. Yeah, and you can see it at a distance. You're 4 feet away from the miniatures, 5 feet away from the miniatures, and you can make out all the details that the miniatures have. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about because he does other things as well. He's got a lot of stuff on his blog site. And I don't know what kind of a guy he is. Maybe he's a really nice guy. Maybe he's an asshole. All I know is I like his painting. I hope he's a nice guy. We don't need more assholes in the world. Holy kind of lad, something like that. If you do a search for Sidi Rezai War Game, you'll probably come across his miniatures. I just don't want to play rapid fire. It leaves me empty. It leaves me empty inside. It leaves me empty outside too. And it's not because it's 1 to 5. I'm actually okay with 1 to 5. Playing 1 to 5. I don't want to build 1 to 5. Playing 1 to 5, absolutely. I've done it. That's what I grew up playing. James Roach. He's one of the likely Ilkley lads, a group of that developed the ECW version of PK. I think he does great work. You know, I call it motivating work. You're flipping through the internet and you see something and you're like, man, I want to do this, period. Why? Because look what he did, you know? And there's many people like that. Like, yeah, World War II, yeah. You know, Yorkshire Gamers ships. Like, fuck, I want to play ships. I mean, that stuff's amazing. And I'm a ship guy. I don't do ships, but I'm a ship guy. But the problem with doing 1/700 scale is then you get into details like, all right, this is a model of Hotspur. Okay, cool. But I want to make Hasty. Oh, well, Hasty had a different bridge that was, I mean, you're at a scale where you can see that kind of stuff. You know, when I'm doing 1/2400 scale, I just buy a pack of GH class destroyers. And as long as it's not some kind of a weird configuration like the ASW ones that some of the H's were converted into, Hesperus, and there's like 4 or 5 of them that were converted. As long as it's not one of those, you can just paint them and go and roll with it, you know? Well, when you start getting to 1/700 scale, now you're starting to get into the realm of like, you know, these two ships do look different. I don't know, I want to build some French battleships, and Strasbourg and Dunkirk look a little different from each other. I better get a separate model for each kind of thing. You don't have to do that. I'm just saying I would do that. You know, it's the stuff that you encounter on the internet. It's like food. You're not hungry, and then you see something that's food related, and you're like, that motherfucker made me hungry. Now I've got to eat. It's exactly the same thing. I mean, if you're a food person like I am, what's your appetite? Melted ass on a popsicle. Damn you, light. And it does have a little mortar that fits in there. We'll paint that later. Let me see. I have either 10. I don't want to be rushed. I want to leave here at... What do we got? 3 T-34s? We got this. Maybe we don't got this. These are heavy. These are heavy, which I'm like, fuck, this takes a lot of effort, like grabbing them. Being tactical, how you grab some of these things. All right, let's take One. Yeah, these are really heavy. These are probably the heaviest vehicles I have. These Skytrek slash Hinchcliffe. We'll paint these upside down here. We're not really making much of a mess. That one, when we get back on Sunday morning, we can do this with the green and the white and the olive drab. I've actually never used this one before. I picked up this Ammo MiG olive drab base, so we're going to use that for the mortar carrier. Now, for this particular battle, as far as I can see, all the 234s won't have heavily camouflaged and whitewashed. I'm not going to let that stop me, though. Well, the ones I've done aren't heavily white either. They're just white all over the place. So I'm going to continue that trend because, first of all, it looks great. I like how it looks. You'd think I didn't have a tank. What am I painting? We're painting a lot of, well, the picture was in the thumbnail. I don't know if you saw that, but we're painting, these actually look okay. These Skytreks, they're old, but we're also painting these VP cast models that look less than stellar. And I got them relatively recently from somebody damn near gave them to me. They didn't want to deal with them no more. So we're going to turn them into treasures. You know, we're going to try to do a good job on them, and I think they'll certainly be usable looking, and they might even look really good. So I'm going to give them the attention they don't deserve. You know, when I was doing 15 millimeter figures, I liked getting figures that are yesteryear's figures, and giving them and giving them their time in the sun. Feudal castings, some Essex guys. Like, people be like, man, those Essex guys look great. I'm like, yeah, just spend some freaking time with them. I mean, most miniatures are pretty damn decent by the time you paint them. You know, I mean, it takes no effort to paint something like a forged in battle. Not effort, but it's easy to make a forged in battle figure look great, or a Zyston figure look great. They're wonderful. But when you take something that's yesteryear's, forgotten toys, within reason, there's some that are just, look like melted ass. But it's empowering to give, figures that nobody's ever, like, given them any cared about. Because all these sculptors can sculpt better than I ever will. I'm not a sculptor, and sometimes they put them on websites and they show them painted by somebody who's not an uber painter. And I think they should just show miniatures not painted, period. You can make up your own decision. So, yeah, these trucks were so bad that they wanted you to glue the wheels just on the chassis with nothing underneath it. So I had to make that out of wood. So that, because you're looking at the side view, you're going to see some undercarriage. Now, I don't give a shit that the undercarriage is correct or not, but you have to have some kind of an undercarriage, or the vehicle wouldn't hold together. It'd be like the Flintstones car or something like that. It just doesn't work. It's not believable. And hot glue, man. We'll be using more of that. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get this done. We're not going to be able to get this done. So here's what we're going to do. Let's run this out. And we're going to leave the T-34s for a rainy day. Let's run this out, and then we'll see if we have time to do the trucks in green and white, because that's really what I wanted to do. But this is, since you have to switch things out, it's just easier to just like do all the stuff that you want to do first. So you don't have to clean this out a couple times. But it's not necessarily in the order that I would have preferred to do it in. But that's also why I brought this many things out here to airbrush. Normally I'd be like, oh, let's just do the truck, so let's just do this. But I'm like, well, if I'm going to fire up the black primer paint, might as well prime everything that I can. It's already acting out a little bit. Jamming when I don't want it to. I I wish it was last weekend because it's going to get up to the 80s today, and I don't like hot weather. Well, 80s isn't hot. It is when you're outside all day. I want it to be the 50s. All right. Let's get as much of this stuff off that we can. Actually, it's not too bad. I think I have enough time to do this. I can't believe it's a free event. We could always donate money to them. Well, yes, I could. You're right. I'm going to do my part by promoting it. How about that? Good morning, Ben. You were on here earlier? Not sleeping in. You didn't have a crazy night at the pub, did you? At the pub. Now, I'm going to do something so we don't have a jam session. Because we want the rest of this to go right because we have limited time. But I'd like to have something to work on Sunday. That's pretty clean. And I don't really want to drive in the dark anyways. Nothing to look at. Especially since I'm going to be semi-distracted by listening to a podcast. Unless I find it really boring. Which I don't know, last time he dropped the podcast, it was an interview with an author. And I was like, an interview with a lady author. And I'm like, I don't have anything against lady anythings. But the problem is most ladies write about stuff that I'm not interested in. Sorry, this is the facts. You know, there's a lot of guys that write about stuff I'm not interested in, but you know, you're not going to have a lady that's normally going to write a memoir about a tank commander or something like that. You know, it's like probably not going to be the case. But I listened to the whole interview and I ended up getting her book and really liked her book. So, got to go with an open mind. All right, we've got these 3 Ass Clown green tanks. All right, so we're going to pull in the 4BO Russian green, and we're going to cut it 50-50, even though I've said this was airbrush ready. We're going to use this Abbas formula. We're going to go, we're going to count drops on this. 1, 2, I think that was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that was 6, 7. The Abbas formula, we need to dial this the hell down. Down to about 15. Now you shouldn't hear that as often. I put 9 in there because I'm the boss. This is the master of my domain. Nobody tells me to do shit when I'm painting. My sleep has been all sorts of jacked up this week. You get the Sunday blues too? Jeffrey outed me that I get the Sunday blues about, what is it, 1,700 hours? Yeah, what's true? There's people, I love what I do for a living. You need a pay cut, asshole. I actually, I actually don't hate what I do for a living. I just hate that I'm rushed all the time, and it's changes and interrupted galore. All right, we got our color here. Let's start with the ugliest duckling of all. Quack, quack. And I don't hate painting windows. I don't love it like headlights. You got tired at around 6:30. Then I power through, but then I won't get tired again until 1 a.m. Then I got to bed at wake up at 2 a.m. Man, that is all kinds of jacked up. Well, it's a weekend. You can do whatever the hell you want. I mean, it's how it should be. And people in France were complaining. They want to go to a 35-hour work week. That might just be good enough reason to learn French. But then I don't really want to smoke cigarettes and wear a beret, so. I'm not even going to bother painting the tarp there. I'll do a little bit on the back. Right, next truck. I don't know if the message board on the other last streams, but do you know if, let's see, I gotta turn this up. I don't know if the message posted on either of the last streams, but do you know of any 20mm or 176 tech tachankas? The hell is a tachanka? Explain what a tachanka is. If it's in 20mm, I probably know. I surf a lot. Yeah, I surf a lot. Tachanka. Sounds like a Russian with a big butt. Look at that tachankas on her. I wonder if she makes a mean borscht. Borscht. However the hell you say that. She got a little bit of chanka for you. It's a chanka. They are the horse-drawn MG carriages. I'm sure somebody makes them. Check out Early War Miniatures. Um, I gotta say somebody weird like It Figures or something like that makes them. Although I don't know what their stuff looks like. Somebody, guaranteed somebody makes it. Guaranteed. There's so many manufacturers in 20 millimeter. Of course, a lot of them are out of business, but they they wouldn't be called that. They would be, they would be horse-drawn carriage with machine gun. You'd probably have to add the machine guns yourself. Morale check on the horse. What if like the horse is on in that game? I was like, well, I'll just buy me a horse. I won't have to steal it from town every time and get it used, even though it came from another town. I don't know how these guys knew that was a stolen horse. I'm like, shit, I can't even afford one with 3 legs. Like 1,000 flooring or whatever the hell money they used. Like, jeez. I gotta be a lot better. I gotta be able to pick a lock successfully before I can have 1,000 flooring. Still haven't done that. Yeah, Early War Miniatures makes all kinds of stuff that you like, nobody would ever make this. Like, I mean, look, they make Danish troops. Like, the Danes only fought for 6 fucking hours. Like, and they make like, it literally would take you longer to paint the whole Danish army. It'd take you longer to paint one Danish figure. It would take me longer to paint one Danish figure than it did that they fought in the war. Yet they make figures for them. I mean, that's pretty cool. I actually think their helmets are pretty awesome. It's just not worth my time if they only fought like, I mean, hell, the French put up a fight for, 1,000 times longer. Not really, but you get the gist. Okay. This melted asshole here. Melted asshole on a popsicle. I'll take 3, please. Big butt girl from Belarus. I'm going to have fun with my chanka this weekend. The chanka. She likes to eat potato. Has Russia started using female troops in the Ukraine thing? That's when you know they're hard up, when they're using female troops. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, that's when you get in a predicament. All right, 7 o'clock. It's time to do. It's time to go white. Now, that I get anything further. Yes, where's the 23485? She's done. I still got some green here. Yep. Ah, shit. I can't finish. I gotta do the freaking brown, too, of the mud stuff. Alright. Well, we'll stop after this green is done. Shit, I forgot about that stage. And I think that's an important stage. That's one of the things I think one of the things that these snow vehicles turned out really good is because I was doing that. You know, kind of like a brown overspray down here at the bottom. So, and I don't have time to do that and the white. So, I'll try to finish these up this weekend so we can do some panel lighting and stuff tomorrow morning, but we'll see how that goes. I got a video that probably have to be edited too, so I'm just trying to get my money's worth before I have to go back to the coal mines, sand mines. Like that movie Blood In, Blood Out. Give me some chanka. I haven't seen that. Should I watch it? They're still drafting the Central Asians and hired hands from North Korea. Fabian, what's up? It sounds better in Spanish. Fabian, instead of it's Fabian. What's up, man? Watching some show last night that just premiered on Hulu. It's pretty funny. We'll probably watch it. It's very difficult to watch stuff with the wife unless it's comedy, and it's pretty funny. And one of the characters that's in there, not one of the main characters, he goes on, I'm watching this episode, and this guy's obviously of Spanish-speaking descent, and one of the characters asks him what his last name was. And this guy who's of Spanish-speaking descent and looks like he's of Spanish-speaking descent says his last name was Sandoval. And I'm like, the fuck? I mean, I'm like, dude, get somebody that can speak the language, man. That's Sandoval. English speakers do all kinds of stupid bastardizations of Spanish things, and it really bugs somebody in my family a lot. And now it's not my wife or daughter, but it's like, dude, man, do a little. Like, I want to pronounce things correctly. I don't speak French, but I'd like to pronounce them correctly in French. Like, why not, right? Sandoval. What the fuck is wrong with you? The conquest didn't go right. We need to come back. Oh man. Blood In, Blood Out is really good, well worth a watch. Anybody cute in it? Hey, that makes a fucking difference. I mean, my wife doesn't want to see things with ugly people in them either, you know? That doesn't sound like something I'd watch with a wife, though. It just seems like it'd be action-oriented or, you know, something. Blood In, Blood Out. Sounds like the follow-up to the Vagina Monologues or something like that. What was that thing? That stand-up thing that they had several years ago. Oh, man. Fuck me, that's not clean. Let me do the math. 2 hours, get 39. Nah, I need to wrap up. I need to tear down and wrap up. I don't want to be rushed on the weekend. So actually, other than the pit marks, this is actually going to look okay. I think this will actually look okay. And this is going to be snow as well. Barrel's a bit thin. Probably more realistic size. I didn't like those SHQ T3485s because like the back of the barrel and the front of the barrel like the same thickness. Like, okay, which one's right, which one's wrong? And it should be a little bit of a taper. Or you're doing something wrong. When I was first hit with the French name, oh my God, okay? I first thought it was an expression of surprise. It looks like ukulele without the uke. Ulali. Ulali. It's like a charge. It's like something that the French Foreign Legion would say just when they're about to receive the tribesmen. Ulali. No, I want to pronounce things correctly. You know? Like I don't want to watch dubbed films. I don't mind. I like foreign films. But like put them in their native language, and I'm gonna put subtitles anyways. You know. Well, the airbrushing went pretty well. As far as airbrushing goes, you never know what you're gonna get. Life is like an airbrush session. You never know what you're gonna get. So I think these trucks are definitely going to be usable, and they might even look good. They might even be the best BP cast things you've ever seen before. That's a great fucking goal. Like they'll look like the best BP cast thing you've ever seen. So, all right, folks. Thanks for chiming in or coming in this morning, and we're gonna go travel. Gonna go make a video. Hopefully, you'll check that out. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to upload it. I suspect it's gonna be really long. I suspect it's probably gonna be a couple hours at least, because I don't want to edit any of it because that's a pain in the ass. I got to get back to painting. So, all right, folks. Hopefully, check that out. We'll see you guys either later today or in the morning. Appreciate y'all. Bye bye.